Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. I have my Explore mug today. I think my neighbor is about to text me any second because I promised him that I would go get a funnel cake with him at the kind of fair thing that's going on right now. So I gotta be fast. Today's video is going to be the mid-year book Freakout tag. I love doing this tag. I do it every single year and I think it's kind of fun to reflect on the books that you've read, but also to look forward to books that are coming out still, and to kind of like think about, we're halfway through the reading year, which is insane to think about, and I'm not ready, but it's upon us. So let's just get into it. So question 1 is the best book you've read so far this year. And I always have trouble with this one because if there's a lot that I've enjoyed, it's hard for me to pick one. So kind of what I did is I narrowed it down to my 5 stars and then picked from there. And I think I have to go with The Astral Library by Kate Quinn. This was such a good book, and it kind of took me by surprise because I picked it up a little bit on a whim. Like, it sounded good. It sounded like I would enjoy it, but I picked it up thinking it was just going to be like okay, or it would just be really fun and cute, and that was it. But it was actually amazing and so good. And it had like deep messaging, it had characters you really like, it had a little bit of twists and turns. I loved the story of like going in, of like a library where you can go into different stories and experience different characters' lives. The whole, like just the whole book was just so good and interesting. And I found myself really drawn to it, and I ended up just like falling in love with it and devouring it and then giving it 5 stars. So The Astral Library for sure. Question 2 is the best sequel you've read so far this year. And for this one, I think there's 2 that come to mind, but this one came to mind first, and that's The Tapestry of Fate by Shannon Chakraborty. This is book 2 in the Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi series, and I loved the first one. This one was amazing and so good, but this one was good, but it was good in a different way, and I still ended up giving it 5 stars, which you guys will learn about in my reading wrap-up, but it was still so good, but it was different. It's a little bit more sinister, it's a little bit more sad, it's a little bit more like diabolical type magic, instead of it being like adventurous, upfront, creatures, magic, people coming at you. It was more underlying and manipulative and sinister. So that has a different vibe and a different feel when you're reading it, and also a different pacing. But I did end up really liking it, loving it. I gave it 5 stars, like I said. So this has to be the best sequel. It was also a sequel I had been waiting for well, it came out in 2023. Did I read it in 2023? Yes. I've been waiting for this sequel for 3 years. So I was very excited about it and just really wanted to read it and loved it. I'm glad that I did. I'm curious how book 3 will go, but that was definitely the best sequel I've read so far. And then question 3 is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. Always so many. There's always just not enough time, you know? One that my dog's asleep, but he's so cute. One of them that comes to mind that I didn't actually have as an answer at first is this arc that I got of Nobody's Quest by Alyssa Day. I do really want to read this, I just haven't gotten to it yet. I believe, yeah, it came out June 2nd. And it sounds like something I will really enjoy. It says, Nobody's Quest is a fast-paced, adventure-filled romantasy that celebrates the triumph of hope over fear. It also contains content that may be sensitive to some readers. The dedication is for people that struggle with mental health, and it talks about depression. I'm just think this will be something that's going to be a hit for me, I hope anyway. It says, Soli has spent most of her life being invisible, an indentured servant, a library mold scrubber, the girl who no one sees unless she's in the way. So when the King's Guard shows up with swords drawn, she assumes it's a mistake. It's not. Moments later, she's standing in the throne room while the king tells her she's been chosen to retrieve a set of ancient keys. Only the keys can save the goddess and stop the chaos beyond the palace walls, because the world isn't waiting to be saved, it's already burning. And beside him stands Prince Kalen, devastatingly beautiful, mercilessly cold, and certain Soli won't survive the hard journey ahead. He's probably right. But Soli survived a lifetime of hard everything. She may be a nobody, no training, no real power, and no idea why she was chosen, but she refuses to be expendable. Even if the quest ahead is anything but simple, when assassins, monsters, and impossible choices fracture and the fragile alliance slowly building with the prince slowly realizes she can't hide in the shadows anymore, because for the first time in her life, she has something to lose. So it sounds really kind of vague, but I'm curious about it and I think I'm gonna like it. Another one is a stage set for villains by San and J Span. This is one that I actually have the audiobook of, like I hauled it, and I really want to read it. It was like one of those situations where I didn't have time to get to it in my TBR the month that it was in, but it came out in February, and I still really want to get to it. It sounds really good. I've heard it's described as like a mixture between Caraval and something else, like Shadow and Bone. Oh, Caraval meets One Dark Window. I do this every time. Caraval meets One Dark Window, and I think those two things being said about a book immediately makes me want to read it. And it's essentially about these performers that are immortals, and then this character has an opportunity to play a game, and if they win, they get to become one of the immortal actors, the players. So it just sounds so good, and it sounds like they're all vicious and horrible, and that sounds fun. So I would like to get to that, and I would also like to get to Shadow Reaper by Lynette Noni. I wanted to get to it. I hope to get to it before the end of June, but I'm not seeing that happening. We'll see. But I loved Lynette Noni's Prison Healer series, and I was very curious about this one because of the premise about it being kind of like Reapers and Reaper magic and death. Never bargain with a Reaper. The city of Aravel is in peril, plagued by a deadly black mist that kills all it touches, and Reapers who roam the streets, stealing magic from innocent children in their thirst for power. But then the main character hunts those Reapers, and the loyal follower of the person that is like a part of the Reapers offers to kind of betray them for a price. So they're trying to save the world, but also possibly betraying each other. So I want to read it. I trust Lynette Noni, so hopefully she doesn't let me down. And then question 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Victorious. I think I could shout that from the rooftop. Victorious. Also ACOTAR 6, but Victorious. I loved Vicious and the Villains series. Vicious is my favorite book of all time. I also really liked Vengeful, and I am dying to get my hands on Victorious. I can't wait. And ACOTAR 6, of course, because we also want to know what's going on with that. And it's been shrouded in such mystery. Like, she finally announced it. I'm freezing, hold on. She finally announced the book, but we don't have a title, we don't have a cover, we don't have a summary, like we don't have an idea of what it's about. So it's kind of strange because it's already June and it comes out in October. But okay, we'll see how that goes. But I do want to read that. And Turncloak. I'm actually so mad at myself. Turncloak wasn't in my list of anticipated releases for some reason, but it's one of the most anticipated releases I have, so let me take this time to talk about it. Turncloak is book 2 in the Silvercloak series, the Silvercloak saga. And Silvercloak was one of my favorite reads of last year. It was insanely good, like so good. I didn't understand how it was that good. It was amazing. The second one comes out on September 15th, so I desperately need to get to it because there are so many things that happened in the first book that I have to know what happens. And I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm also afraid because I just know it's going to hurt. I just know it's going to hurt so bad. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it continues. The first one, you're following these people that are like mages, and a lot of people in this world have magic. And if you have magic, you can do lots of things with it, but one of the things you can do is you can become a Silvercloak, which is kind of like being a police force or a detective, and that's what the main character wants to do. And then she goes undercover to try to infiltrate the Blood Moons, these like Crimson Moon type people, who are like a mafia, like criminal syndicate, but nobody can like get them. And it's amazing. If you like detective stories and magic, like intricate Harry Potter wand magic, read it. It's so good. Question 5 is biggest disappointment. This definitely has to be the Elsewhere Express. I really thought I was going to love that book. I thought it was going to be whimsical and magical, and I was just going to really enjoy it. And it just really flopped for me. I didn't like it. I kind of got lost at one point because I just didn't care. And I probably should have DNF'd it, but I was like, surely this is going to pull itself together. But then I just lost interest, and it just wasn't good. It wasn't a good time for me. I'm not saying you shouldn't read it if it sounds like you would like it. But for me, it's too whimsy when you're just like, what actually is happening? I can't actually tell you what's happening. So it didn't work for me, unfortunately, and that was my biggest disappointment so far. Question 6 is biggest surprise. So I feel like I have 2 for different reasons. The first one is Dungeon Crawler Carl, because lit RPGs don't work for me. I don't like them. They're usually sexist and misogynistic, and I hate it. I know they work for a lot of people, whatever, but they don't work for me. So I was a little bit hesitant to give this a try, but it sounded like something I would enjoy. And I have a close friend that told me she started reading them and she liked it, and that's kind of what bolstered me to give it a shot. And I did end up liking it. I had a really fun time with it. My husband and I listened to it when we were on vacation, and I did have a lot of fun with it. It's not like my favorite book ever, and there were still parts that were just like gross for no reason. It's like, I hate when things are added to a story like that are just like gross or crude, that don't actually serve a purpose to the plot. It really irritates me, and that's kind of what happened in book 1. But that percentage was so low comparatively to the rest of the book that I was okay with it, and I really enjoyed the rest of it. And I really like the characters. I like Carl and Princess Donut and Mongo. If you want to continue the series, I think it's going to get good. It's also really long, which is somewhat of a downside for me, but I think it's going to be worth it, and I have hope. That was kind of a surprise. And also Metal Slinger, but in a different way, by Rachel Snyder. That one's in a different way because I'd heard people raving about this series. And when I read the beginning of it, I really, really liked it. And they, like, escape this, like, naval island ship society and, like, go on the run. And they're trying to survive at sea. And then they're trying to survive in the wilderness. And in those parts, I really, really enjoyed it. And then it gets to a part where I just felt like everything was kind of silly. I felt like the problems that need to be resolved were kind of silly. Like, it could have been resolved too easily. And I just was like, I don't really buy why this is so great. And then it took a hard turn. And I was actually in shock and didn't expect that to happen. And that's why it was the biggest prize, and why the ending, like, popped off, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I was like, how will this ever resolve? So I am curious, and that was a big surprise. And I do plan on reading the second one as soon as I can. Question 7 is favorite new author. This one's a little bit hard for me because a lot of these authors I've read before, or I've only read one of their works. And I always feel weird saying it's like a new favorite author if I've only read one of their books. I don't really know if I have one because I haven't read a lot of repeats. But 2 that I really liked their books were Meg Schaefer, who wrote The Book Witch, and Kate Quinn, who wrote The Astral Library. So I would say for both of those, I'm intrigued by their writing, and I really enjoyed those books, that I would be curious to read more of their writing. So I would say those are the 2 that stand out thus far. Maybe I could say Shannon Chakraborty because I've loved the Amina Al-Sarafi series, but I haven't read her other series. Question 8 is newest fictional crush. And again, for this one, like, there's not one that really stands out like I've had in the past, where I've been like, oh, I could definitely say, like, Kane Farron or something like that. But I think he would count because he was in last year's mid-year book Freakout tag. He did exist, so we could say him. But for this year, like, maybe Grimm from the Lightlark series. I like him. I like Sloth in Throne of Nightmares. The other thing is, like, a lot of these characters I've met before that I like now that I already had a crush on, you know? Oh, I like the Duke of Chicago from The Book Witch. He was really fun. He was suave and funny and sweet. So I liked him. But no one that was, like, all-consuming, I don't think. And then question 9 is newest favorite character. And I think I have a couple from these. So I still really like Key from the Time of Iron series, Long Live Evil and All Hail Chaos. I still really like Key. He has a special place in my heart, the little tragic psychopath. Princess Donut and Mongo. Mongo's definitely my favorite from Dungeon Crawler Carl. He's my favorite character of of the series so far. I've only read the first book, but I love Princess Donut and Carl, but Mongo, I love him so much. So him for sure. So definitely he's in the running for sure, or at least one of my favorite characters. Maybe Lucan from the Dragon Curse series by Elise Kova, but I've only read one book. I kind of already knew this, but I'm reading Empire of Storms right now, and after reading Queen of Shadows, I started to like them in book 3, but after reading Queen of Shadows and seeing more of her character arc, and then Empire of Storms and getting more of her character arc, Manon, I've already really liked Manon and was drawn to her, and I think she's definitely my favorite of the Throne of Glass series, her and Abraxos, so Manon. Question 10 is a book that made you cry. Nothing made me cry, but I think the most traumatic, the saddest, and most like there is no hope and everything's wrong and sad and heartbreaking would be Eldritch by Carrie Lake. I know that's a really good pitch to get you to read it. It's so devastating because you're just like, when will the suffering end? When will the characters be happy? When will they see like the light at the end of the tunnel? So that one's really sad, but I didn't cry. But Eldritch, I think, is the best answer for that. You just want them to be okay. If I was again talking about books I read last year, probably Alchemized. Ugh. I still think about that when I look at my tattoo and I'm like, oh, it's so sad. Okay. Question 11 is a book that made you happy. Wanted a Roommate Who Isn't Evil by Jennifer Crope. I love the Court of the Coffee Bean books. I've mentioned Welcome to Fake Cafe multiple times on this channel, and I love that series. It's just so adventurous and dangerous, but somehow just also so hilarious and sweet and wholesome. I love that series, and this is book 3, and I kind of decided that I wanted to continue the series, finish the series this year if I can, and I read book 3. It's really short, but it's about a guy. It's about it's Danian's story. I can't think of how to pronounce his name right now. Danian's story, and he is looking for a roommate because he's having trouble paying his bills, and his landlord finds him a roommate, but he finds out that it's Luke, the nine-tailed fox from the previous book that was the villain, and maybe he's not as bad as he seems to be, but they're all like, we're enemies and we hate each other, and now we're stuck in a lease that cannot be broken by human law, so we're gonna force one of the other out. And they just start this like petty feud, and it's so funny, but then the plot develops and it gets deeper and a lot more dangerous and crazy things happen, but it was so short and fun. I think I read it in like 24 hours and I needed it. I loved it. And then question 12 is a favorite book to movie adaptation you've seen this year. I don't think I've really seen any this year, honestly. I was trying to think of this earlier, and I don't think I've watched any. I would like to see Wuthering Heights, even though I know that's kind of a hot take, but that's my favorite classical book, and I've always wanted to see an adaptation of it that wasn't like a million years old. So I was actually really pumped about it, but I just never got to the theater, so I'm hoping I can watch it soon. I could say Lord of the Rings, because I've been watching that again recently. But definitely that one. And I also want to watch the Off-Campus series, but again, that's a little bit different, and I haven't watched it yet. But I've heard good things. And question 13 is a favorite video you've done so far this year. I really enjoy doing best books of the previous year. So I really like the best books of 2025 video I did, because I just enjoy doing best and worst book videos. I think they're really fun. But I also had a really good time doing the Caraval read-alongs with Becky from Bex Reads. We went through and read Caraval, Legendary, Finale, and Spectacular together over 4 months. And then we did a little like read-along, like chat after we had read the books every month. And so they're on her channel, but it was so fun. I had a really good time with it, and I looked forward to it. I made sure I read the books, and I loved being able to chat with her every month. Things are a little bit busier now, so I'm glad we did it when we did, but it was a lot of fun. If you haven't seen those, you should definitely check them out. Question 14 is the most beautiful book you've bought or received so far this year. I would say several, because I still have some Fairy Loot books that I've been getting in. But I was really impressed by this book, and I ended up picking it up. It's one of the only books that I've like gone to a store and bought this year, and that's Starside by Alex Astor. I really like the cover. I like that it's a sword and the silver and the dragon and just like all that kind of stuff in it. I think it's really pretty, but also just like, I don't know if this is the Barnes & Noble edition, but it has these sprayed edges with lightning and storms and a dragon and like misty mountains and lightning. So this one's just been really pretty, and I would like to read it because I am enjoying the Lightlark series, even if it's not like the best. I kind of have hopes for this, that it's going to be better. Even has like a little bit of stamped hardcover. I really like the map on this one in particular because it's black and then white. And it's just a pretty edition, but it was just like, you know, a regular bookstore, which I love. I love that bookstores are doing that now and making it more accessible for people. So I would say this one's a really, really pretty edition. So trying to not buy as many right now. And then question 15 is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? Always too many, always so many. I need to finish Throne of Glass. I'm reading Empire of Storms, like I said, so I need to read Kingdom of Ash. I want to finish that out, especially before ACOTAR comes out, so that then I can read those. Not that you have to, but I want to. I want to reread the Villains books before Victorious comes out, so I want to reread Vicious and Vengeful. I want to read Game On by Nevessa Allen. That was one I meant to get to a long time ago and just ran out of time, so I want to read that one. Tides of Fortune by Lauren Hamilton Murray because I loved Heir of Storms. The Exquisite Torment of Loving Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley because I love the irresistible urge to fall for your enemy. I really want to read those, even though they're new releases and they haven't come out yet because they come out in July. I want to read those. Also, NetGalley books. I need to make some more progress in reading down some of my NetGalley books. Always too many. Always so many things I want to read, but those are a handful. Well, those are all of the questions for the mid-year book freakout tag. I would love to tag Becky from Bex Reads if she would like to do this tag, and Jess from Honest Fiction, because we have bonded a little bit in enjoying book tags, so if you haven't done this already, go for it. And if you would like to answer any of these questions, please leave them in the comments down below, because I really enjoy seeing people's answers for these, and I love watching these videos and making these videos, so please do. Thank you so much for watching, but that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.